Buenos dias, amigos! Welcome to a very sunny and warm Mendoza. We've left the cloudy and cold capital city of Buenos Aires and made it to Mendoza, here on the western edge of Argentina, in the east of the Andes, on the border with Chile. This region is renowned among adventure travelers and mountaineers, mountain climbers, due to its proximity to the mountain of Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in the western and southern hemispheres, and thus the highest mountain of the Americas. The region and the city is also a major hotspot for travelers that do hiking, rafting, horse riding in the Andes, and also among wine lovers. It is one of the major hotspots of the world. It is the biggest wine producing region of South America, and thus also one of the 11 wine capitals of the world. And the city has played a major role, a significant role in South American history, particularly Chilean, Peruvian and obviously Argentinian history. I'll show you why. Join me. Vamos! Want to know what you get for $5 a night here in Mendoza, Argentina? Get you this. A beautiful capsule hostel. Check it out. This is my bed. This is my villa. And yeah, $5 a night though. Can't complain. Breakfast included, by the way. So guys, you want to travel long term and not spend a lot of money. You want to travel long term on the cheap. Well, then ask yourself, could you do it? Could you live the hostel life? A very interesting fact about Mendoza, which is not one of the first cities that come to mind when you think of Argentina, obviously, especially not as a European or any other sort of foreigner. It's not one of the most famous cities here of this large country, which is Argentina, but the city has a population of over 2 million people and is thus the fourth largest city of Argentina, after only Rosario, Cordoba and of course Buenos Aires. In 1861, the city suffered a severe earthquake which killed about 5,000 people and destroyed the whole city. It was thus rebuilt in an innovative way with urban designs that would better suit such seismic activity. And yeah, the city has bigger sidewalks and bigger squares than any other city in Argentina. I arrived here yesterday morning after spending nearly a week in Buenos Aires, and I can tell you guys that it feels completely different to Buenos Aires. It feels like nearly going to another country. It's a completely different vibe. Buenos Aires is, of course, a big city vibe, you know, and it feels quite European, to be honest. For Latin American, you know, for Latin America, it feels quite European, being in Buenos Aires. But here, it feels more Latin American again, more traditional. The people seem to be a bit more traditional. And yeah, I wouldn't say that in Buenos Aires people aren't down to earth, but Buenos Aires is more like a big city vibe, like a European big city vibe. Here, it's more like a down to earth. It feels more like a down-to-earth Latin American vibe. It's a bit like when you're in Mexico and you are going to the south. It's completely different to the north. It doesn't feel like walking through a 2 million plus people city. It feels quite calm, to be honest, quite laid back. And I like big cities. Don't get me wrong, I like big cities, but I've got to admit that it is a welcome change from the hustle and bustle of Buenos Aires. And I'm not the only person thinking like that. In fact, this city, Mendoza, and the whole region, of course, is a major hotspot, a popular tourist hotspot all year round, during the 4 seasons of the year. During winter, it is a hotspot for skiers to come here, to obviously go skiing in the Andes. And in the rest of the year, It is a welcome getaway destination, not only for international tourists, but actually mostly for people from Buenos Aires to just escape the hustle and bustle of their own city. And also the climate here is much better than down in Buenos Aires, because here it's much drier. Of course, in winter, as we are in the mountains, it also gets much colder here than down in Buenos Aires, but during the other 3 seasons of the year it's much warmer here. It's much drier climate here. It rains a lot less than in Buenos Aires, and this is why this is a very popular getaway destination for Argentinians to come to all year round. I am currently in the biggest park of Mendoza. Mendoza, I didn't tell you yet. It's full of massive parks, and this one is the biggest of them all. It's named after a very important figure of this city's history and Argentine, Peruvian and Chilean history, General José de San Martín. We're in the Parque de San Martín, and I'll now walk into a place which is commemorating a very important event in South American history, and then you'll understand why this city is so significant for every Peruvian and Chilean watching this. Fucking beautiful though, innit? Check it out. Hermosa Mendoza. One pretty cool thing I haven't told you guys yet about Argentina is this, the SUBE card. This is the public transport card. It is valuable for all sorts of public transports, buses, metros, wherever. And yeah, you can use it everywhere in Argentina, whether in Buenos Aires or in Mendoza. And you can also recharge it. You basically put money on it. I, for example, put 1,000 pesos on it, which is about $1.50 with the dollar blue rate. And a ride on the bus or on the metro costs like 50 to 70 pesos. And yeah, you can also recharge it all the time, basically everywhere. And as you can use that everywhere in Argentina, in whichever city you are, whatever city you are in, whether in Buenos Aires, Rosario, Cordoba, or like me right now in Mendoza, that's pretty cool. And in regards to that, thank you SUBE, thank you Argentina, and well done Argentina. Alright guys, you see, when I travel, I always try to keep up a gym routine. It's tough when you travel. I mean, when you move from place to place every week, it's really tough to keep up a gym routine, a consistent gym routine. But I still try to go to the gym from time to time. But what I don't do at all, especially when I travel, is cardio. I don't do any cardio. So now it's time for a little workout, a little cardio workout. It's time for a little hike up that hill, which is where that place is that I told you about. It has to do with General José San Martín. But first of all, let's do some cardio. Let's do a little workout. I'm super sweaty guys, but we've made it to the top. We've reached our destination, and check it out, it was worth the hike. Check out how beautiful this place is. Wowzers. So yes guys, this is the so-called Sierra de la Gloria here in Mendoza. That's the name of the viewpoint. And It's basically a place which is commemorating one of the most significant events in Latin American, or rather South American history. This place is really significant for Argentina, Peru and Chile. It was from here that General José de San Martín, or as the Spanish would say, General José de San Martín, the then governor of Mendoza, started his expedition with his army across the Andes into Chile. And after only 24 days from the start of the expedition, managed to defeat the Spanish in Chile and liberate Chile from the conquistadores. After that, they went on to liberate Peru as well. The success of José de San Martín's troops after crossing the Andes into Chile and defeating the Spanish and liberating Chile from the conquistadores was one of the biggest victories against the conquistadores and one of the biggest defeats of the Spanish army. And yes, that's one of the most significant events in South American history and probably human history. I mean, crossing the Andes and defeating an army in the space of only 24 days is pretty massive, right, isn't it? The success of the Andes, as they call it here. So to all you Chileans watching this, and also all you Peruvians, it is thanks to this man, José de San Martín, General José de San Martín, that you guys are an independent country these days. This guy gave you your freedom and your independence from Spain, from the European conquistadores. And if some of you guys are really hiking junkies and are really motivated enough, you could even pay homage to this expedition of General José San Martín by doing the exact thing as him. You could actually hike from here, from Mendoza, over the Andes into Chile by foot. Would be some adventure, that. I might do that one time, but not on this trip. Not on this trip. I guess you'd have to be mentally prepared for that, and I've got plans already. But it would be interesting though, crossing into Chile on foot via the Andes, just like General José de San Martín and his troops back in 1817. General José de San Martín's troops, which were made up of Argentinian and Chilean patriots, who liberated Peru and Chile from the Spanish. It was a rare victory against the Europeans, because we all know that most of the time in history the Europeans unfortunately get their will. And as I am saying this, not far away from here, actually just not even a kilometer away from here, is a place which is commemorating a huge loss to the Europeans by the Argentinian people. And check out these landscapes, guys. It's incredible. Never seen anything like it, to be honest. Super pretty. I'm currently on my way back down, guys, and I've spotted our next destination right ahead of us. The football stadium of Mendoza, which is called Estadio de las Malvinas, the Stadium of the Falkland Islands. As you might know, in 1982 there was a 10-week war between Argentina and the UK about the Falkland Islands, which is a group of islands pretty much as south as it gets, right next to the most southern point of Argentina, and yeah, which was populated had always been populated by Argentinians and also by some British scientists. Then in 1982, a war broke out between Argentina and the UK in regards to the Falkland Islands. I've got to watch out my steps here. It's quite steep. But yeah, the Falkland Islands had always been populated by Argentinians, but as some British scientists were stationed there, the UK always proclaimed it as part of the Crown and as part of the UK, basically. And so in 1982, the Argentinian leader said that it was enough, and he sent some troops to the Falkland Islands to get them back into Argentinian hands. Because, yeah, 20 British scientists, might have been a few more, are surely not enough to justify the UK taking the Falkland Islands or proclaiming it as part of the UK. The war lasted, it was never officially declared, the war between the UK and Argentina, but it was taking place, and after 10 weeks it was over, and it cost the lives of about 700 Argentinians and a bit under 200 Brits, and also a few Falkland Islanders. And of course, the result of it, you can imagine what the result was. The Falkland Islands remained part of the UK, and they still are today, even though they are so far away from the UK, obviously. And yeah, the Falkland Islands, that's the British name, the international name of the group of islands, but actually the original Argentinian name of it is the Malvinas, Las Islas Malvinas. And still today, Argentina claims the islands to itself. Well, because obviously mostly Argentinians live on the island, and the Argentinians discovered the islands. And yeah, it is right next to Argentina, obviously. The islands depend on Argentina for many things. And so, rightfully, Argentina still claims the Malvinas as part of their own. But obviously the international community always adheres to the will of the white people, of the Europeans. And yeah, the history of Europeans outside of Europe, and this is nothing now against specifically the Brits, this is against the Spanish, the Italians, the Germans, the French, obviously, probably the worst of them all. And I'm a European myself, and I've got to tell you guys, if I wasn't European, I'm not sure if I would actually be eager to visit this continent, because the history of Europeans, whether they're English, Spanish, Portuguese, German, French, Italian, the history of Europeans outside of Europe is nothing short of a disgrace. And the loss of the Malvinas Islands is a big thing in Argentina, still today, because wherever you go in Argentina, you will find slogans depicting the loss of the Malvinas Islands and the claiming of it. Especially in Buenos Aires, when you walk there, you will see many graffitis or political slogans that say the Malvinas will always be Argentinians, or we haven't forgotten the Malvinas Islands. And also as such, many plazas around Argentinian cities are named Malvinas, many streets are named Malvinas, named after the Malvinas, and also many football stadiums, obviously, like the one I am approaching now. Many football stadiums or arenas are named after the Malvinas, and also in many songs the Malvinas are still being mentioned, not least in the recent Argentine World Cup song, which they sang during the World Cup. In that song, which mainly turns around football, they also say Argentina, tierra de Diego Lionel, y de las Malvinas que jamás olvidaré, which means Argentina, the land of Diego and Lionel, and of the Malvinas, which we'll never forget. Alright guys, we've made it to the Malvinas Stadium, which is right behind me. The same that I've been talking about. And yeah, after a long hike, I've arrived here, but I've got sad news. I can't enter the stadium, I can't enter the complex because, yeah, the complex only opens for visitors in like an hour. And as I'm literally here in the middle of nowhere, this arena, this stadium is in the middle of nowhere, like many stadiums, and yeah, there's nothing to do around here. I'm not gonna stick around here for an hour or more just to enter and take some pictures and finish the video. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a huge stadium, but it's just a stadium, it's just a football stadium. I've seen tons of them in my life. Well, yeah, it's a significant one. The World Cup in 1978 was played in there. The Copa America recently was played in there. And yeah, the most significant thing about it is its name, obviously, the Malvinas Stadium, the Malvinas Argentinas, the Argentine Falkland Islands, as the Brits would say, as the international community would like it to be. But anyway guys, I reckon you should visit Mendoza. It's a lovely place, lovely city, beautiful nature, good wine apparently. I'm not into wine, but if you're a wine lover then you should come here obviously. And if you're into hiking, obviously, if you're into mountain climbing, there's so many reasons to come here. So long story short, don't miss out on Mendoza when you come to Argentina. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, either here in Mendoza, because I'm staying here for another few days. Maybe I'll do another video, we'll see. And yeah, or in the next one, in the next place, next adventure. So that's it from me. Adios. See you in the next one. Hasta luego, amigos. Guys, I couldn't end the video without showing you guys my favorite beer here in Argentina, the very best beer of Argentina. Quilmes, check it out. Delicious Quilmes. So when you come to Argentina, make sure to drink some delicious Quilmes. It's by far the best beer here. So with that being said, cheers to Argentina, cheers to Mendoza, and cheers to you guys.